This is Good Morning, Boss, as we are set to have our morning discussion this morning that pertains to youths and women participation in political conversation, to be specifically civility in political conversation. What exactly are we talking about when we are talking about this whole issue of civility in political conversation? What are some of the things that you need to know? The concerns of the youths and women in their approach concerning their divergent views of politics. That is also what we are seeking to find out from my guest, who has done much when we are talking about sensitization and the campaign surrounding civility in political conversation. And it's none other than Madam Mwanahamisi Adam. She will have to introduce herself, and of course as we proceed with the discussion this morning, we'd like to get to your views concerning our topic of discussion. Share your thoughts, feedback, questions to my guest, and of course I'll be looking at them as we get along. You've got three options at your disposal. Number one, you can choose to send in your text message via the number you see below your screen. Also, you can share them on WhatsApp, or you can move to a social media platform. You can as well as call us live, and we will have to get to hear what you have to say. Good morning, Mwanahamisi.
Good morning, Mr. Shadrach.
How are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Right. For the benefit of my viewer there, who exactly is Mwanahamisi Adam?
Mwanahamisi Adam is a lawyer. She's also the Speaker of Mombasa Youth Assembly and the founder of a very great movement by the name Mombasa Civility Talk Series. You can follow us on Facebook and show some love. Thank you.
Right. Mombasa Civility
Talk Series, yes.
You know, when you mention series, na sisi ni mavijana, we only know of the series you know. So what is this Mombasa Civility Talk Series? Okay,
if I can touch on the series part of it, is that this is not a conversation that is just going to happen in a day and end. This is a conversation that is going to be continuous. So we are going to involve different youths and different women to take part in this conversation. Right. And that is why it is a series.
Oh, so the series thing is a continuous thing?
It's a continuous thing.
Right, so in a nutshell, we are not going to end it here. It will still continue.
We are still continue because civility is the way of life.
Right.
So the talks have to keep on continuing. Yes.
First and first, there was an article on the Taifa Leo today, I need to get your comment on, that talks about women wanting a law that of course will safeguard them during the time at which they engage in their campaigns and politics, simply because we are moving closer to the 2022 general election. And there has been a lot of concern on how women are being attacked or maybe being discriminated during their time of campaigning and playing their bit of politics. What do you think about that proposal to have a law?
I think it's relevant for us to have the proposal of having a law because women deserve a lot of respect, and not just by law. Even different actors have to take place and protect women in politics. First, because women have gone through different types of intersectional inequalities and have been exposed to different forms of discrimination since time immemorial. So they deserve this law, and we should support them. Right. Yes.
We should support them.
We should support
them. Do you feel women have a role to support the women? How now?
They should, first, by voting them. Second, they can also take part in different ways in which we can come up with a different leader. Yes. Right.
Very true. Thoughts of my guest concerning that article that was on, I think it's page 4 of the Standard, or the Daily, the Taifa Leo. Sorry for that. You know, I'm used to the English part, but of course it's found on the Taifa Leo, and she had to weigh in on that matter. But of course, coming back now to our discussion today, when we are talking about civility in political conversations, what do you mean?
First, if we talk about civility, we are talking of things to do with tolerance, and not just tolerance per se. Even in as much as you respect a person who has a different opinion, still you have a right also to give your own counterpart opinion. So if we talk about civility, we are talking about having constructive dialogues in which when you're participating in these talks, you have a right to say that, okay, I like this and I don't like that, and your apprehensions are going to be respected without you feeling that there is fear that you're going maybe to be discriminated in such talks.
Right. Do you want to tell me right now there is no tolerance, or what are you trying to say?
Tolerance is there, but then the political divide is becoming too big, and these conversations are getting into personal relationships. And if things get personal, then there's a threat to violence. Even from the newspapers that we've gone through, you've seen that the gap is becoming too big, and there is like power struggles. So everybody is saying what I bring to the table is good. And now, as we are talking about different kingpins from different countries, it's even becoming like, it's not even that political, it's becoming tribalism. It's more of tribalism. Like, I come from central Kenya, so you should support me in this. So it is creeping to personal relationship. That's why we should talk about it. Right. And because we are bigger than politics. Yes.
Right. It's quite a phrase I've heard that the country is bigger than politics. We are bigger than politics.
Yes, yes.
Your life is bigger than
it's
politics.
All over. It's
you
all
kind
over.
of repeat yourselves on this matter.
Oh, okay.
But the question now begs, do you feel like right now, as we are moving closer to the 2022 general election,
yes,
how is the situation like in your own assessment in terms of the campaigns and tolerance and civility in talking about politics now? How is the situation like?
I think the country state, the nation state is not that good. Because right now Kenyans are confused. Why are we confused? Because different leaders are airing out different plans that they have for us. Yes. So we are in that state that, okay, it's time for us to pick on which side we are going to align ourselves on. So the talks that are taking place over the world are going to actually influence us either to support somebody or not support somebody, or even fight amongst ourselves. For example, I'll give you an example from the newspaper that you are reading. The first page of the Taifa Leo is saying, ni wale wa, you can read for us please.
Ni wale wale wa hadi hewa 2022.
Ni wale wale wa hadi hewa 2022. So what does this signal? If a normal Mwananchi reads this, first you're getting that, okay, our leaders have false promises. So if it's someone who does not have the ethics of civility, you will not go around and investigate, okay, did they give a promise previously and which is failing right now? So those that cannot even go beyond investigating and all that, they're going to be influenced that, okay, I will not vote for maybe Musalia Mudavadi because he's also in the picture. I will not vote for him because of the heading ni wale wale wa hadiza uongo. Yes. Right. So even from the media stations and all that, we should try and speak the language of civility, even in our headlines, because some of the headlines can be very insightful to the normal Mwananchi. Right. Yes.
Of course, that is, of course, also the role of media in terms of making sure that we get the approach of civility in our politics. Yeah, exactly. You'll be expounding on that later on. But still here now. You know, I'm trying to get to understand you on some of the issues that you raising concerning the civility in our political talks and conversations. But of course, politics calls for divergent views, you know.
Exactly.
And we should agree to disagree.
Exactly.
Does that do we see that in our country, in our political conversations? When you walk around in your line of duty campaigning about that, do you feel it? Do you see it out there, or is something that you are starting to push that is not happening?
Before I get to that, I'd like to bring you close to my campaign on Mombasa Civility Talk Series. First, we are saying that it's not all about tolerance, but it's about balancing between democracy and tolerance. Because first, if we look at maybe demonstrations, if they are peaceful, they are balancing between democracy and civility. But if they go beyond peaceful demonstrations to fights and all that, already we are spoiling it. And maybe from the police or the security forces have to interfere in this. So with your question, tolerance is there. We can say like not all of us are tolerant in Kenya. Tolerance is there, a bit of tolerance is there. But then because of the political divide, many people are becoming intolerant. So like we really have to interfere in this.
Right. Of course. During your efforts to of course campaign for civility in the political conversations, first and foremost, right now it's slowly, and the Kenyans, mostly the youths and the women, do not even take time to discuss issues about politics. They only think, like from whatever the headline says here, ni wale wale. So there is no need of me even participating in some kind of way of politics and issues about that. Is that the way we are supposed to go, or what do you think?
That's a challenge. That is actually a challenge first, because what we are saying is that politics is the way of life. If you don't participate in politics, people are going to decide what you are going to eat. People are going to decide how you are going to live. People are going even to decide how much you should give for the taxes and all that. Like, people are going to make all the decisions for yourself. So we don't have to We don't have to walk away from politics. We should not walk away from politics. First, we should indulge in politics, but in a way that there is understanding and there is reasoning in it. Yeah, so I'm encouraging the youth and the women and any other person out there to take part in political conversations, because if we don't take part in them, then it means that people are going to decide everything for you. And it's so sad that nowadays the youth feel very disengaged because of this. Ni wale wale tu. So why should I participate in this? They're forgetting that if I participate in this, maybe I'll have a chance to get a good leader. So let's have hope. It's hope that is keeping us living. Yes.
Right. Of course, it's hope that is making us to live and giving us life as we go along. Remember, that is what we are discussing this morning. Civility in political conversation. Now, listen to this. Perhaps you may have had a bit of a situation. You may have been discriminated in one way or another, or your view concerning the politics, your side of politics, the wing at which you support, has been taken wrongly, and you kind of faced a bit of trouble during the time at which you participated in a political conversation. That experience that you underwent is what we are waiting to hear, and we are waiting to understand, so that we may help somebody out there who has that fear to engage in politics simply because it's a murky road. Maybe people may say that it may cause some bit of trouble, but of course that is what we want to help out, so that we may eradicate all these vices that are resulting from political intolerance and what have you, as far as civility in political conversations and participation is concerned. But of course, coming back to you, Mwanahamisi,
yes, please.
This kind of mentality that you have, most youths out there don't have. Why is it so? Why are the youths even not changing their mentality in their approach to politics, and how they can be of tolerance and have a sober discussion, though they may agree to disagree, but still remain to be together, and at the end of the day, life is bigger than politics. Why do you feel like the youths do not have this kind of mentality that you have?
First, I want to say that it will be incorrect to say that the youth don't have this kind of mentality that I have, because I'm working with a very big team of people with myriad opinions, and some of them support civility. So what we are looking forward is we want to reach as many youths as possible. And then we are not even going to blame that the youth don't participate in politics. We can't blame them, because one man said that tolerance is one of the virtues of a failing society. Why did he say this? First, he said this because he felt that history has been keeping on repeating itself, and we are not making a change, because the tolerance that we gave ourselves at that time is that like no change. We've lost faith to what is happening. So the youth should not feel disengaged. First, we should come together, because with collective action, we can do something. Yes, and we also promote shared humanity, because if we believe that we are one and the same, because the youth in Mombasa face the same problems, and we are one and the same, if we come together, the bigger we are, people are going to understand that and the people are going to understand and recognize that there is something in these youths, we need to listen to them. And with collective action, is going to bring us even to broader outcomes, and maybe even change our situation. So we should come together and participate in this. Right.
Is it that easy?
Is it that
easy to get the youths come on board and have?
It is not easy, because a big team feel very disengaged. So to convince them, first they tell you that there have been very movements out there, and they come and preach to us change, and we don't see change. So how sure are you that your movement is going to bring change to us? That is the biggest challenge that I'm facing. And I'm saying that we've gone through different forms of discrimination. We are going through different types of challenges. So if we say that things are not changing and we just sit down, is the change going to come? No. So we need to stand our ground and make the change. I know we are sadder. I know we have gone through different problems, but if we just continue sitting, like no change is going to happen. So regardless, we should stand on our ground and try and do something.
Right. Of course. Speaking about political differences, it's something that has been there. We've had different factions. Maybe this one supports this person, this one supports this one. We are not for them, we are against them. You know, is it supposed to be an order of the day? And even though we argue and disagree, we have different opinions in our political line, do you feel like we shouldn't get to it as such as we take it too personal and have very, disunity issues about intolerance there? How should we go about with our political differences?
First, I feel like first having the political differences, it is okay, because that is how we are going to gauge if whether the democracy of a country is doing good or not doing good. People need to have different opinions, and that is very okay.
Right.
But the problem is that we are failing to differentiate between political positions and values. Okay, maybe I support this candidate and you are supporting that candidate, but when you are dealing with me, when it comes to political conversations,
right,
you actually talk of my values instead of my political position. So that is when it gets personal, and even it maybe leads to threat and even maybe violence and all that. So let's know how to differentiate between a person's political position and their own value. Let's not creep to personal, something that is personal.
Right. Of course, maybe my political stand does not determine how my value is.
Exactly.
Is that the case?
Exactly. And even with your political stand, the same issues that you are facing are most likely the same issues that I'm facing. So what we are trying to do as two people is just get the best candidate. So if we talk about this, let's know that we are sharing the same issues. It's only that you have a different person and I have a different person. Then why should we fight amongst ourselves? Let it be like free will. Okay, first, if you're having conversations with a person, try and understand what they are saying, because the wrong thing that we do is that we don't understand what somebody is saying. We just come and preach to you that you should do this or you should do that, or I like na Shadrach naye. Why is he even supporting this candidate? Like, I don't understand you, like with your values and all that. We should not do that. First, understand each other, then share what you have and share what I have, and let's learn from each other, not preach. We learn from each other.
Right, very true. There are times that you hear political intolerance in the country has quite heated so far.
Exactly.
And it has a lot of effects to our daily lives, routine, and what have you. Talk about how maybe we may end up having chaos here, chaos there. We are moving closer to the general election, and our campaign period is slowly gaining momentum, and our political temperature have risen. Does that worry you in your efforts to try and bring civility in?
Of course it does. Of course it does. First, because tolerance, just like trust, it's a virtue that has to be built. You don't wait for violence and then you just stand at a press and call Kenyans, you know what, we should try and maintain peace. This issue is at the court and it is being solved. People are going to not listen to you because it's all about interest. And if I feel that my interests have been abused, I will be at the streets, and that is my right. So let's start these conversations as early as now. So even at that time when it reaches, people already got used to engage with each other respectfully and peacefully, so there will be not likely of violence. And even if you call people to sit down and converse, then the conversations will be going around smoothly, because we've built that virtue of tolerating each other in political conversations.
Right.
So it starts now. Yes, we don't wait for it. We don't wait for violence to strike. We should start these conversations as early as now. Imagine of a hall, we are there to dialogue, people have different perspectives, but because it is the same problem, we share and compare. At the end of the day, you have your own political will, I have my own political will, and it's free will. Yes.
Right. You know, listening to you, it's kind of, you're a youth, you know? And
yes, I'm a youth.
Right, and you're a woman.
And
lady.
I'm a woman,
right.
and I'm a Muslim. So all those headlines and discrimination all over.
And the fact that you are young,
yes,
and you engage in a political conversation soberly and with a lot of civilization there, it's different from what it's propelled out there, that youths have been used by politicians to cause chaos, cause intolerance. Why do you feel like we do not learn from ourselves, we as youths?
I feel like the youth do not learn from themselves. First, we are the bigger population. Second, we are experiencing a lot of challenge. Third, unemployment rate is very high. So we have a youth at home, just a normal youth. You are just at home, you don't have a job. You need maybe to satisfy your needs,
right,
and even the needs of your family. So if someone just comes with some money and gives you like 200 shillings, you know what, go out there and say this, this, and this, and that. So they have clogged their thinking, so they will just go there and do that. But then as a youth, you need to ask yourself, after these 200 shillings, how am I going to benefit? If I go and cause fights out there, why am I hurting this race? So the youth need first to stand and try and be independent. Okay, it's okay, unemployment rates are high, but at least try find something that is going to actually solve your challenges and all that, rather than being used by politicians. They need to have a say. Yeah, youths need to have a stand, and they need to have a say. They need to take control of their life and not let someone control their life.
Right. I get a picture of freedom of expression. It's key here when we are talking about civility in a political conversation.
Yes.
Do you feel we've made strides in the efforts to at least make sure that we have the freedom of expression in the country right now?
Many people are trying. Many people are trying because freedom of expression is actually in the headlight. Everyone is trying to make sure that every person can freely air out their views and opinions and being respected. Also, the effort is there.
Right. So you feel we are good as far as the freedom for expression is concerned?
We are good, and we are also not that good. Why? Because people don't like to hear the truth. So if you are this person who just wants to speak the truth anywhere, you may also end up in difficulty. And this is very bad. Yeah, because if we don't give someone, if we don't guarantee someone the right of freedom of expression, then this person is experiencing actually unseen injustices. And if you're experiencing this unseen injustice, you will not be able to raise your apprehensions. If you don't raise your apprehensions, you already have an identified problem. So even as we see people fighting out there, they're fighting because first, they were not given a position to say what they want or what they feel. Like, give an example in policy development process. Right. People are discussing a policy and you are there, but because maybe of age, you're told that, what can you tell us? Keep quiet. You see, they're not giving you that respect that you have to air your views. So if you go out there and you are not listened, why should you support the policy?
True.
Yes.
In the first place.
The first place, why should you? Nobody listened to you. So even if it's like, you see, we have to be listened. Everybody needs to be listened and respected for them to have peace. Can you have peace as a person if you're not listened to and respected?
Not really.
Of course, you do have problems, and many people also have problems. So we should listen to everyone.
Right. And do you feel our politicians also have a role to play in making sure that they help out in political civility here? Of
course they have. Because if as a politician you stand one day and tell them, you know, I'm from your tribe, ile siku nikipata hii mtafurahi. Or why should you vote for someone else? Please vote for me, like I'll give you a job, I'll give you a job. Or they just stand there and maybe critique the other opponent in a way that it's very disrespectful or in a way that is not even factual. If they do this, what are they doing? They're inciting people to violence. So even with their talks, they should be respectfully to other opponents. And even we as citizens, if we feel that the politician is becoming very, is actually approaching an uncivil discourse, we should tell them that, okay, we called you here to tell us what you are going to do for us, not actually to talk about the other candidate. They should put them in place.
Right, of course. We are largely discussing on a very important issue here that pertains civility in our political conversations. I do believe you've had time to engage into some bit of a political conversation, maybe in your locality there. You've had to sit down and discuss maybe with one or two people concerning different political issues that affect the country, and in one way or another, maybe your view, maybe your concern was not taken up lightly, and it spurred or rather caused some bit of trouble to you simply because of your stand politically. And of course there was kind of this uncivilization in your address, and of course that is what we need to change as a society, as a people, specifically the youths and the women who are engaged much when we are discussing this issue of whole aspect of political participation and conversation. That is what we are discussing this morning. We would like to hear your thoughts concerning this. What are some of the strides that have been made in making sure that we have political civilization in our conversations as we move closer to the general election? And coming back to you, Madam Mwanahamisi.
Yes, please.
This last week we had the NCAC speaking boldly that maybe we are headed in the wrong direction as far as unity is concerned in the country, and there is a likelihood if things are not controlled come 2022 we may have a situation just like that what happened in 2007. I do believe you got that information from the NCAC. You as one who does the campaign of political tolerance, political civility here, how did you take that concern from NCAC first and foremost?
Of course, first, the concern is right. Like, it's very evidenced. Even from the newspapers that you read, the political divide is very evident.
Right.
There is power struggle. Everyone wants to get to power. So if we don't control this situation from how citizens perceive the power struggles, then we are going to have likelihood of violence. Because Waswahili wanasema kila mtu anavutia kwake. Mimi ninataka uongozi na I want power, najivutia. Wewe unajivutia, wewe unajivutia. So your supporters, my supporters, my supporters, my supporters, and because we feel that politics is about enmity.
Right.
If I support this candidate, then you are my enemy. Then what are we saying? We are obviously, violence is going to strike. Yes.
Right. And they say that if nothing is done about it, we may end up to 2007 as it was during the post-election violence. And
that is very true, and that is why even Mombasa Civility Talk Series is trying to cultivate these conversations and make sure that there is tolerance in political conversation, so that we cultivate that culture of understanding and try as much as possible not to get to that situation that happened before. Yes,
and
things are bad.
And the culture you're talking about, can it be achieved?
Of course it can. I've achieved it already. So far, I have more than 100 people who have taken the pledge of civility. I have a pledge of civility that they're saying that, okay, civility does not even require you to love your neighbor. It just requires you to treat other person the way you want to be treated, and any other person from your who is close to you, how you want them to be treated. So it is achievable, and I've been achieving it, and I am achieving it. Yes.
And you'll continue achieving it.
Yes. I said it's a series. Yes.
I love the spirit.
Thank you.
Right. Looking at whatever also you talk about, you normally address maybe concerns of people who have been discriminated in one way or another during the time at which they engage in their political conversation.
Yes.
Have you ever gotten an experience of somebody who came to you and talked to you about them being discriminated in one way or another, or yourself maybe you undergone that kind of treatment? That's why you came on board with this kind of campaign. How did you go about it, and what exactly some of your experiences that you've witnessed?
This is actually after very many years in the public discourse that I've been engaging in, and I've seen different types of youth and women and any other person out there being subjected to incivility. For example, you find a youth in a political conversation. He has just stood, he's trying to air their views, and just the people sitting close to him are like, what are you telling us? You're just 20 years old. What do you know about politics? You see, it's very dehumanizing. So what do you do about that? You just sit down, and maybe you had something very valuable that people had to hear about it. And because they have not heard about it, then what's up? You see, and some it's even tribal. Like a politician just comes and talks to you and say that, you know what, I'm a Digo and we are Digos. Do you want to vote for a Luo? Right. Will he come and help you? If you need help, vote for me. But it's not always the case. Some of them come and try buy votes in such cases, and even when they are being, when they have been elected, they don't come back to us. So it's a high time for us to gauge a candidate depending on what he's bringing on the table, depending on how he wants to change the community, and not even about tribe or even about maybe age. Some people even despite candidates because of their age, because politically people feel like if you are experienced enough, it's when you'll be good in politics. Because you're just 20 years old and you want to vote for an MCS, what do you know? you cannot convince us anyhow.
True. Right, and it's something that maybe derails the effort being made by the participation of women and youths in politics.
Of course.
That, of course, we'll come and look at it later on. But, of course, stay still with the issue concerning Mombasa Civility Talk Series, looking at some of the things you do online. There's this idea, or I don't know if it's an idea or it's a behavior that is slowly shaping up in the country. Maybe we may not see the intolerance bit of it physically, but when we come to our online posts, the hashtags that are, of course, running on social media, it's quite something that needs to be addressed largely. And do you feel also social media is one of the catalysts to speak about the catalyst that has resulted in intolerance of politics here? Exactly,
and social media is playing a very big role, either to encourage people to be civil or encourage people to become incivil. Why? A long time ago, before social media became this known to people and many people indulge in social media, democracy used to be just baraza talks. We are calling for maybe town halls meetings, you go and participate. But nowadays, freedom of expression is very on, that I can just go to social media and write something that I feel politically. That you can even have meetings in social media, that you can even have the chats and all that in social media. And because, number one, to gauge someone if he has committed an incivility in social media, it's very difficult. Even if someone just tries and moves there and tries to abuse people, it's very difficult to do that. And this is why incivility in social media, it's spreading very fast, because it's very difficult for you to know that, okay, this person is doing this and it's bad. Because there, freedom of expression is like, I think it is very broad and very guaranteed.
Right.
But unless somebody reports you in Facebook that you said something bad, or in Twitter that you saying something bad, like you just be set free. And the people that engage in your post, they're also like, if it's something that is inciting them to violence and all, they're going to be incited to violence. So like social media is also playing a very big role. Yeah.
Right. And if at all we want to bring sanity in our social media posts, so that in as much as we are moving closer to the general election, and there is need to campaign for our people who we feel they are the best, we should have some bit of respect and dignity during our campaigns. What needs to be done with the social media aspect now?
Okay, so what I'm saying is that even nowadays they say that if you've not changed your political strategies to legal, to digital, then you are a recipe of failure. Because nowadays everyone is at the digital space. So if you will continue with the barazas things and all that, you will actually fail. So how are we going to make sure that there is sanctity at in the social media level? First, everything starts at home. Even as you talk to your wife, you talk to your mother, you talk to your neighbor, treat them with civility.
Right.
So even as they engage with you in the social media platforms, it's going to be that civil. Because with social media nowadays, people even, like the relationship, the physical relations are really cut. Like, I know I can just get Shadrach in social media. Why should I talk to Shadrach? Why should I visit Shadrach? Why should I even like visit his home and all that and all that? So let's try and maintain and cultivate relationships even at physically in our homes and all that, so that even as it goes social, we are already used to this conversation.
Right.
So let's build relationships with ourselves.
Right. And we have those who are hate mongers on social media, you know, and they're the ones who are derailing your efforts in making sure that we have civility in our political conversation. We may have a forum online that discusses issues that pertains us as local Mwananchi, and we need leaders who can come on board and solve our problems. But in as much as we have a cordial and a very conscientious discussion, we may have that one crook, you know, every market there is that one madman. Such people, what do you think should be done to them?
People always cast stones. No matter what good you are doing, people will always be there to discourage you and all that. So first, you need to be strong. And even as this person, treat them with respect. Try to understand whatever they are saying, because I believe even if you are mad, there is sense in what you are saying.
True.
So, so I will not go ahead and start preaching to this person's civility. I will not go ahead and start teaching this person's civility. First, I will try to understand this person. Second, I will try to share my concerns with this person. Then I'm going to respect his differences. Respectfully.
Right.
Yes.
Very true. Now, out from the physical point of view, where you walk around, do some town halls meeting, talk to people, concerning your campaign, do you also do it online?
I do it online, yeah.
And do you see any feedback and results? What exactly are you getting?
Of course I do, of course I do. I get feedbacks and results. People take part in it. And some also feel that it's very convenient, because some people are very busy out there and it's very difficult to call them for these physical meetings. But someone is so willing to take part in anything that is for the benefit of the community and is going to build them. So people are open to participate in this. Yes.
Right. Very true. So I do believe you as a youth, largely if you are so much on the online side point of view, then there is need for you also to be conscious of whatever you speak and whatever you say politically, so that it may not spur a bit of a situation, it may not spur a bit of intolerance, and of course there is the need to have dignity and respect concerning the politics, conversation of politics that we have in the country. Coming back to you here, we also have
before you come back to me, if we talk about civility also, we are not saying that we should sugarcoat things, no. You speak the truth, but speak it in a way that even if it's someone else speaking to you, you will not feel that bad.
Right.
Yes.
So civility does not necessarily mean that we should not
does not mean that we should not say the truth. Of course, truth should be told, because if we want to be democratic, developed, we should speak the truth, because it is the truth that will set us free. Yes. So let's speak the truth, but how we engage with each other, let it be civil. Because if we indulge each other and it gets even into personal relationship, that's when we will start fighting each other. And when you're fighting each other, it's you and me fighting, not even on the discourse that we are discussing, you see. So you even separated politics and values. Yes.
Right. And of course, the question now will be, who in Kenya wants the truth? And who cares about whether if you're saying the truth now? Does that even worry you? Is that even a concern that you're putting into consideration, or you just speak and say, let ifikie yule mwenye inafaa kufikia?
Okay, ifikie yule inafaa kufikia pia. First, youth should learn communication skills. You know, even as you approach someone and want to tell them the truth, is it the right channel that you are using? It is very relevant for me to approach my leader or even write him a letter and tell him, you know what, Mheshimiwa, you are doing this, this and this and this, and I feel that it is not right. Do you think if we do it like this, it is going to be better? Rather than going to social media and say, Mheshimiwa tusaidii, atufanyi kitu chochote. You see, it becomes even disrespectful to these positions. Hata Mungu anasema, you should respect your leaders. So show that respect and use the right channel. Yes.
Right. Of course, using the right channel is also key in maybe propelling the issues and political conversation that we are having. That is a morning discussion that we are gearing up to. Just in case you're joining us, this is what we are doing. Political conversation, we want to do them in a more civilized way. What are some of the approaches that we can take in making sure that in as much as we have this political conversation, there is need for unity, tolerance, kindness, and respect and dignity to one's idea, one's view, and one's decision in terms of the politics of the day. Time for us to take our second break here on the show this morning. We will be coming back to discuss more, talk about the issue of women and youths in political participation. What are the fears of women and youths in engaging in politics in the country, and the way forward? Are we likely to see more youths coming on board to gear up for these political leadership positions that we are having in the country? That is what we'll be coming up to discuss later on after this short break. Keep your comments coming. We'll be coming back in a